Apologies. We just got a bit of a technical glitch here with recording. We will commence very soon, resume very shortly the training session. Thank you. Good morning to everyone, and once again, thank you for your patience. I hope everybody's well. And the weather in Joburg is great compared to Cape Town. And my name is Adib, and I'll be the presenter for today, talking about the ARC, the Alarm Receiving Center Integration Guide. And this is basically the guide. You guys are more than welcome to drop me a mail, phone me, and I'll leave all my details at the end of the presentation. I'll leave all my details. And basically, the integration guide is basically to do with Axpro alarm intrusion alarm system and how it does go into the various different platforms. We've got one or two other items also lined up. And once again, thank you for affording your valuable time to attend this interesting discussion. Okay. On the agenda, I've got about 5 tips, five topics. The first one is how, and then we're obviously talking about the plug-and-play solution for the alarm monitoring service. Also, our middleware software called the IP Receiver Pro integration through HIK-Pro Connect. Also, the IP Receiver Pro integration through ISAP and the Hikvision plug-and-play video verification. Okay, cool. So the first one will be how to register on the TP. Obviously, create an account, and if you do have an account, you obviously just have to create login. But before we start, if you do not have a hypothetical question, you do not have a account. So obviously, you'll start by entering in the Google search ttp.hikvision.com. It will take you down to a drop-down menu, and obviously ask you, are you a supplier, etc. What you want to download. You want to download the IP Receiver Pro or the HPNet SDK or a development guide, etc. from TTP. In that instance, Hikvision in return will then email you the ARC ID as well as a key for development and testing. For the CMS supplier using the ARC ID key, then we'll finish development CMS control monitoring software. That will be your listeners, your patriots, your watch manager, and online intelligence, all the different platforms we have there. And once we have that, this CMS supplier sell the software to the certain ARC and inform the ARC that they need to apply for the key from Hikvision. So that is at the one end. The second end is once you've created the account, you will go to a place on the second page, which will say resources, which is normally on the far right hand side, top right. And on that, there will be a whole dashboard, what you want to do from the projects, events, training, on requests, Optimus Manager integration projects, and using user invitation. And if we go to the next one and basically click on resources, will clicking on the resources, you will launch on an online platform where it will give you 3 different agreements. The first agreement will be materials license agreement, and it's obviously, as I said, general documentation. The second one is the HELP license agreement to join the Hikvision embedded open platform program. And then the last one will be for your Optimus license agreement to join the middleware development program. That's obviously if you want to do various third-party integration within our platform. And on this page, basically, as this customer has done here, he's obviously opted for the HELP license agreement. You obviously have to specify what you want to go of the 3 that we have. Once you select which license actually applies to you, you will then sign the agreement. Once the agreement is signed, you will now be able to see it on the DocuSign online service. You will upload your digital signature, and the online service provided by DocuSign will basically save the information for us. After all necessary documents are signed by you and by Hikvision, the representative of DocuSign will send you an email indicating an online process. It's completed, you will be directed to review the signed documents directly. So it's quite transparent between Hikvision and ourselves. And once everything is done, then basically you can see that this particular customer has signed for the HIK license agreement that has been issued on the 19th of the 6th in 2020, and obviously you download what you need to download. At this time is the only time, once we've gone through this entire process, obviously registering on the TTP, selecting what you want to do, like the class, this particular customer, the HIK, you want a third-party integration. Only at this point now, you will have the right to view all the Hikvision's integrations, the API, SDKs by clicking on the integration and selecting the general guide. So obviously Optimus, HTTP Open API, ACE Open API there, ISAPI and HIK. So basically whichever division you fall into, you'll obviously select that one, all right? And then we're going to our plug and play solution service. So if you look on the left-hand side, we have our alarm system, the Axpro, and we also have our NVR camera system. Then we've got our we've got our software called HIK-Pro Connect, which is a cloud service for the overseas market, but we're obviously using it also in South Africa. And that software is the cloud-based, and that talks to our middleware software. Let me just put my laser on it quickly. So it talks to our middleware software, HIK-Pro Connect. Our HIK-Pro Connect is basically our software that talks to third-party software. So example, if it is Listener, if it is Patriot, Watch Manager, or any other type of software that we have currently, what's currently in the market, this is the software that it talks. So basically our signals or our camera signals all go to our HIK-Connect cloud. From our cloud, we will then push it through to the middleware software called HIK-Pro Connect, which will then decode the signals either via SureGuard, CS, DCL9, or Manito, or Dimco, whatever the platform you're using, and obviously that will go back into the control room. So it gets that this whole process gets done very seamlessly, because normally on the receiver end of the machine, like on the receiver end of, say use Listener example, we'll install the software, which is a soft base. It ties at the back end so that you don't even see the software basically, and it looks almost like it's going directly into Listener. But we have this converter, which is the HIK IP Receiver Pro, and that will allow you to obviously be able to view your alarm as well as your camera signals back into the control room. Okay, so as we said, the IP Receiver Pro is a gateway product that can add Hikvision devices. For example, the Axpro security control panel, network cameras, DVR, and NVR. On the HIK-Pro Connect, and add devices via ISAPI, and also via the HPC, which is our HIK Central platform as well. It provides service including protocol conversions, linking channels to a zone, event receiving, transmitting event to the ARC via video, image verification, etc. So basically, it's a very simple process in order for the steps to integrate with the IP Receiver Pro. First and foremost, what we need to do is you need to apply for the ARC ID and ARC key. Without having this, you won't be able to connect to our cloud. Secondly, you have to register and log in and configure the HIK-Pro Connect. Thirdly, download, install, and configure IP Receiver Pro. Fourthly, configuration of the ARC software, which is, for example, Listener or Patriot or Watch Manager, and then connect the alarm Axpro panel to Listener software. Okay, so how do we apply for it? So how do you apply for it is that you will log into hikproconnect.com, And obviously, it's very self-explanatory. They will tell you to register, fill in all the requirements. You fill in your company details, your VAT number. You also have the ability to put in a logo. If it's a security company, for example, you put a logo in of the security company. So if anybody goes on the HIK Pro Connect or the HIK-Connect app, they'll actually see, for example, Fidelity, ADTU, Axpro Security will actually be in our panel of companies that actually monitors Axpro. So, beg your pardon. Once it's all downloaded and everything is up and running, you will basically go to the ARC service tab. And in the ARC service tab, like here, for example, we have installers can select ARC London, for example, from the HIK Pro Connect. Because ARC London has ARC ID and has integrated, you'll be able to see it in your list of companies, right? So it will be on the left-hand side. The ARC software provider can log in the HIK Pro Connect using an installer account to configure ARC service. At first, you should add a site manager to your site. So basically 10 to 1, the security company or the installer would have been already assigned as a site manager to the company. Attention, the ARC service is only supported by Hikvision encoding devices and the Axpro security control panels added by HIK Connect service. So I'll show you the next page. So yeah, so there we'll go. That has to be ticked on there. So HIK Pro Connect. On the software, you'll basically see all your audio devices on there. And once you click it, yeah. Sorry, man, I'm just having a little bit of an internet issue here, but we'll get over it now. Okay. So yeah, so the next one in the service and ARC service module, you can configure AR service, and basically like I've shown here, you select AR service on this page here. Once you select the AR service there, it will say, okay, fine, that there is your company available, London. You'll authorize it, and once you authorize it, it will actually you'll be able to only then be able to monitor a alarm system in the control room. And the reason why we've done that is that if anybody has bought an Axpro and they just go online and they say, okay, fine, you know what, we want Fidelity to monitor us, and they press the request and Fidelity does monitor, there was no authentication done, and that's hence the reason why we actually first let the end user push the notification through that, you know, that I want your monitor to be monitored by Fidelity, for example, and only then will you be able to receive. So if the enable ARC service for devices, if it's not enabled, there's no way you'll actually be able to receive signals in any control room. Okay, so let's just go down to the next one. Down installing and configure IP Receiver Pro. So IP Receiver Pro is also web-based. So you download the IP Receiver Pro in a TTP website. After registration in a TTP, the installation package will be found in the resource. So once the resource, you just click on the resource, will open up, and it will basically show you stated at the bottom as highlighted there, IP Receiver Pro, and it supports a PRCam, supports PRCam supported, as well as the normal 7-second videos, as well as alarm signals coming through. And on this page is quite a very important page. Without any of this details here, there will be no way actually for you to do your configuration or your integration successfully. So as you can see, we're using a UK-based server. The ARC that you've applied for, you have to put it in there, as well as the pass ARC key. So these keys are all very unique. Normally, if that's keys are not in, your connect status will be not connected, which means it's not connected to the cloud. Like as I said before, your alarm system, your camera system will go to our HIK-Pro Connect cloud, which is this part here. And then from there, we will then push through the information either through different control monitoring software. So if that does not say connected, there will be no way for you actually to get your signals out to your security company or to any other third-party software that we're using. Okay, so once that's done, you click on it and your device is on HIK-Pro Connect. Once you click on it, it will basically show what is called online. So we've got, for example, online here, we've got the Axpro. Once we click on the Axpro device, here it comes out, it says Axpro. It gives a device ID, right at the bottom, device serial number, device model, the supervision is online, and account ID. So this account ID is very important because this will be the account ID that your control room will look at. So for example, if you have in listener, for example, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, here also needs to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because when the signals come through via IP Receiver Pro, going back into listener will look at the account code that was allocated here. So what I find a lot, customers are using the device serial number, which is the device serial number. They're using this code here, and they may be using the last few digits on it because some control room software can accommodate 4 numbers, 5 or 6. And so what they've done is they take the last 4, 1741, they put it in here, and on the other side they've got an account number that they're following, and they say, okay, fine, they're going to use 9001. There will be a problem there because it's looking at 2 different account codes, right? My internet is hanging a bit here. Sorry for that inconvenience.
Hi guys, sorry, we seem to have a little bit of a technical issue. We're just trying to resolve that problem. We apologize for the inconvenience. Can you guys still all hear us? All right. Okay, let's just quickly see if we can resolve that as quick as possible. All right, guys, it seems like we got that sorted out. Deep, everything seems fine on my side. You can carry on.
Thank you, Jeevan, and thank you to the audiences out there as well.
You just need to unmute yourself.
We're quite
sorry.
irritating. Testing 1, 2. You guys can hear me?
Yeah, no sound. Just give me a second. Let's see.
Testing 1, 2.
Just have a look now.
Testing 1, 2, 1, 2.
Perfect, perfect. It's coming through on the recording. Thank you.
Okay, thank you once again. Thank you, and thank you to everybody in the audience as well, sitting remotely. I really apologize for this inconvenience. I know it can be quite irritating, but you're trying to listen to a topic and there's interference. Our apologies on behalf of Hikvision as well. Okay, so we were on the configure the account ID. So as I mentioned, is that the account ID needs to be the same that you're going to have in the control room. Okay. So we got the next page, which is the next page on the output, automation output. And on this page is basically what you're going to put in all the credentials. So for example, you can enable it. So if you are using any other software besides the listener, you always put in the SureGuard protocol. And obviously you don't put in server mode. Port 1025 is basically the port where you can take any port that you have open, but that will be the port that your control room software will be looking at. So for example, Patriot will be looking at 1025. Any traffic coming through 1025 will be intercepted with a count code, for example, 10,000, and that's how you actually be able to see your signal in your control room. And as we said at the bottom, for the listener platform, please choose private protocol. For the rest of the ARC software, you choose SureGuard as usual. The only reason why we did that is a listener wrote a special firmware to accommodate Hikvision in order to receive signals into the control room. And basically, you just put your receiver number 1, the line card number 001, and it's all standard, and you'll be able to get a signal through. This part here, basically, I'm not going to go into much detail here because let's put it 11 out of 10 times you're never actually going to use this. I'm saying 11 out of 10 because we're never actually going to use this except if you're the IT guy or you're actually doing maintenance in the control room. But normally, normally the ARC service engineers, they will configure all this. But just to give you the benefit of the doubt, I'll just do a touch and go. And here we look at listen, for example. You should better contact your ARC software technical support to configure this part. Here's only this for reference, as I mentioned. You create receivers and instances on the RX comms. And okay, in the RX comms, you'll create the instance. From there, you'll go to application services to prepare adding a new receiver. For example, our receiver is the eHome platform. And once you created your receiver, you create the instance in the receivers, then you go into receiver configurations interface and click the add button to prepare to create an instance, right? And then on the instance, you'll put in the instance name. For example, our instance name is HIK-V, Hikvision's eHome. Our instance description is the Hikvision gateway, and we will select active instance and debug instance, right? Once that has been done, you will choose the instance connection from the HIK eHome, then put in the IP receiver login details. So prior, we have the IP receiver login, which we created to get the signals. Remember, I said the IP receiver is our middleware software between the control room and our cloud. There is credentials that you have to put in there. That same credentials you put in there. So, for example, the IP receiver Pro was installed on a machine with a port 81. The IP address of that of where IP receiver Pro is installed was 10.176, blah blah blah. And then obviously for the password to log into the software, because remember it's web-based, so anybody can log in anywhere, and to protect it, we've got a password. And in this instance, I made password 12345, HIK12345, and then the username is admin. Once that has been done, you can now choose a protocol, set your decoder name as eHome, decoder port as 1, device type as HIK, and set in your transmitter length as 6. So here you can decide, okay, fine, what you want to do. You're going to say it must be the eHome platform, it must decoder HIK eHome, and like I've mentioned previously, some control rooms run 4 account codes, 4 numbers, 4 digits in the account codes, or 6, and here we can configure it on the bottom end of the page, right? And then on this part here, obviously, if you enable the SQL UQ and set the instance, the output as a primary, check active and click button of create output, and finally click button of the create instance. So once you select all that, we are good to go. And then that has been set up in from listener's point of view. Then what listener will do is listener will then install the software and put your user password to log in into your listener software. You will go to client form, and on this form you will actually say, okay, fine, is Jacques Geldenhuys, he stays so and so, and blah blah blah. Then you will create, as on the red one here, you will create the account for the customer. So you can see the code is eHome. The transmitter is 13456. It's on contact ID. The test delay is 1,500 minutes, which is 12 hours. And then obviously you just have your alarm, what alarm signals coming through. Once that has been done, you will then go to the interface of monitoring on the decoder, monitoring. You will then edit the radio, and the radio would be, in our instance, will be the eHome. You'll click eHome, you'll put in the transmitter number 13456 PID, and once that is created, you can add a zone button to add Axpro zone number and description, right? Click in the stack button, then the operator button. You will go into the interface of the Axpro alarm monitoring and see all alarms in the real time, right? So here's just basically a scenario or example. You will have clicking the man walking button on the window of checking the 7-second verification image of verification of PR. So we basically got a you have to install VLC on your machines. So we pull it via VLC. So basically, if your PR cam in your house does go off, we'll get the normal signal of burglary that came through of the pyro, as well if you'll be able to receive the 7 seconds video from our PR as well. Okay, so that has all been done, and then we've got a full contact ID. It will tell you exactly that the zone description in zone 1, room 1, room 2, will tell you what it was. It was a panic, alarm, or close. And if you look at on the right hand side, there's something control and tech info. If it's just a matter of interest, if you press on tech info, and you do get a unknown signal coming through to the through to the control room from the alarm system, you press in tech info, it will normally give the raw data, and with that raw data, a lot of the CMSs were able to put in the description in it into the contact ID library, right? And then the IP receiver Pro integration through the ISAP. I have to be honest with you, the ISAP method is It's a lot of more complicated method. We're actually starting to move away from that, because for the mere fact that you need to create, you have to get from your ISP external IP address, because in order for your alarm system to communicate to your control room, you guys basically the alarm panel and the security company needs to be on the same network. So that's impossible, because a guy stays in Cape Town, for example, and I want my house to be monitored in Joburg. My Joburg house must be monitored there. So how do you get it to work? You can't get it to work, because we're in two different networks, and we use the external IP, as well as the ISAP method also can't accommodate us to use our video signals coming through. So we actually use it via the HSP, which is a lot more effective way. This plug and play method, and that is basically ProConnect way. So I'm not going to try to go too much detail in it, because we're actually phasing away from that type of protocol. Okay, so this is the web page. Basically, you can be able to log into your alarm panel. If you have your HIK-ProConnect details or HIK-Connect details, you log onto the web page, and this is basically what you can do. So you've got your whole interface here. It looks like this particular client chose ISAP, the server number, the port 7762, which is generic what we call alarm receiving port, and port number 1 is registry 7761. Device ID, which is your account code, it's 12345, and off we go. If the Axpro alarm panel AC control service, which is the IPC Pro installer, listener software are not in different networks, the server IP address and port number should be the IP receivers Pro. And with the external IP address, we'll obviously create the gateway going back into the software. So, but as I said, that has been more of a complicated method, and we've actually worked away from that. Okay, so here's again, configure the output protocol in the IPC Pro. Operator can also control the heartbeat interval. So you can control the heartbeat intervals from the IP receiver Pro interval to say how many intervals you wanted to give through to show if I'm still alive or not alive. Or you can also have a test report from the alarm system back to your control room. So you've got two ways. The first one is to make sure that our software is currently active. So you get a heartbeat from there, as well as you also got the functionality and capability to know exactly if our device is offline. Because remember, we're running IoT here, although you don't need a radio to monitor your alarm, because you could go straight via the IP route, but a lot of customers or a lot of security companies are still now opting for you to go via the RF radio because of the mere fact of the load sheddings, and we do not have internet access, and we're obviously creating compromising security. Security is compromised because our cell phone towers is down and we don't have internet connectivity throughout. But with RF, we still but safe. And the last thing with the Hikvision alarm system as well is that if you do lose internet connectivity, all alarm devices create its own network, and you were able to still arm your alarm, but not via your phone, but via a key fob and keypad. So what happens then? Your radio will still be active, and bear in mind that you have a virtual electronic 3.2 power pack battery that actually can just run your radio in terms of redundancy. Okay. And then yeah, so we're just going to touch on this a bit. The Hikvision plug and play video verification. For some area servers, they do not deeper integrate. There's a bit of spelling error there. They do not do deeper integrate as listener. As you below, there's two ways Hikvision solutions for verification. The web is one click for verification, and the other one is obviously the first step is to link the zone. You can find more details on Axpro. One. Enable alarm monitor. This is obviously also still done on the IPC Pro in configuration systems. You can put in a link and you put in that URL link in the browser to obviously populate the recording, and you can obviously download your clips from there as well. And then the second one is our Hikvision plugin for video verification. The operator can relate several CCTV channels, up to 4 channels for alarm video verification. This is different from the one-click verification. So our alarm system, just to go a little bit back, our alarm system, our Axpro, can take up to 4 cameras without the MVR or DVR. So it gets connected directly. Bear in mind that the camera and the alarm system is in the same network. And customers always ask, okay, how do you retrieve footage? On our HIK-Sense and on our HIK cameras, we've got SD cards. Just a matter of interest, 2-line camera can go up to 128, and our 3-line cameras can go to 256. So, but I've been working on 128, and the storage on there is quite reasonable, because when your alarm does go off, you instantly see it on your phone, so you can actually see exactly what's going off, as well as these cameras that are these tracking about that can go directly into the alarm system. Is that you can also tell the camera that although it's a camera, you can see live feed, and like you can view cameras through your HIK-Connect app. You can see exactly what's happening in live feed. Also, your camera, you can also use your camera as a detector. So when you arm your alarm, actually arming your camera. So if somebody should walk through, the alarm will go off depending on what analytics you're running. You're running the Axpro, and you run a intrusion zone, or you're running a line crossing. You can set up as well how you want to do line crossing or intrusion zone, and that works very nifty. It's actually quite a good tool to use, because now you've got the ability to see what's happening, as well as you got ability to have the alarm come through, and not after the fact that, you know what, somebody jumps my property, let me do let's go to the post recording and see what has happened. You can actually see it live. Okay, so this is basically how you link your CCTV list from your Hikpro Connect at the same site as your Axpro. And just going back in the Axpro example, if you have existing camera system in place, which is Hikvision, and you install the Axpro, you can say that, you know, if my bedroom passive, which is non-CCTV bedroom passive, goes off, I would like to see what is happening in my backyard, for example. So you could do the linkage between the cameras like seamlessly. And then, yeah, so this is basically the plugin video and exe file. It's basically straightforward. It just tells you what the zone number is, what is the IP address, and what port we're looking at. And then, yeah, the video plugin will connect to CCTV devices via the P2P to see the live feedback, live viewing feedback. Yeah, so that has basically been me for today. If there's any questions, first and foremost, I'd like to thank the audience for their patience and their time during the difficult times we had now with our technology of our internet not being up to standard at one point in time. But if there's any questions, guys, you're more than welcome to chat in the chat box at the bottom. I'll put in shortly my email address as well as my cell phone number if you guys have any questions about the integration, specifically with our Axpro going to control rooms. You're more than welcome to do it. Once again, thank you so much for your time. I hope to see you guys in the near future, and good luck and have a good day ahead.